I want to officially welcome all of you to your series, You Can Do It Online, brought to you by Speakout. And I am officially welcoming all of you. If you have any questions, please let me know, and either by writing one in the chat or when I unmute you, I'll be happy to answer them. And today's program is entitled How to Keep Connecting to Their Minds, Ears, and Hearts. My name is Ann Friedman. I am the founder and CEO of Speakout. We're based in Miami. And just so you know, I'm the author of Public Speaking for the Genius, which you can find on Amazon, a collection of ebooks and e-courses. And you'll be able to find those if you're interested on our website. Now, you may sometimes feel like all these folks you see in the picture here, right? You're listening to a webinar, you're at a meeting. You can't show you feel this way necessarily, but it happens, doesn't it? It means whoever was at the front of this room wasn't connecting to these people. And that's part of what we're here to avoid today. And in fact, to help you get what you want when you're presenting at a virtual meeting, or when you are participating in a meeting, sharing a report, whatever your purpose is for being there, I want to make sure that by the end of this webinar, you're going to have more tools to get what you want by knowing how to give the people in your audience what they want. So our agenda for today is threefold. First of all, we're going to look at what are the questions you need to ask to find out what they want so you can reach your goal. Then we're going to look at how you can take your content and organize it to connect it to their mind. And in the last two sections, we'll be looking at some techniques to help you make sure that you are projecting yourself as the authority with your voice, connecting to our ears. And finally, what are the emotional trigger words? What is it that you need to do to connect your content to our heart? So let's look first at what it takes to connect to your audience's mind. Typically, we hear or we are asked to deliver 4 types of presentations. The first is informative, and most of us in business or in nonprofit organizations or government folks are not here just to inform. Neither are we there just to entertain, would you agree? Although you want to be as entertaining as possible. Most of us are doing the last 2 categories, which are either trying to persuade people to do what we want them to do, or motivate them to do what we want them to do. What's the difference? Persuasion is getting somebody to do something that they might not really want to do unless you ask them to do it. And motivating is that you create an environment where they do what you're asking because they want to do it. So now I'm going to ask you to think about a specific presentation that you have coming up, a report that you may need to give to your team, a client presentation, some situation where you're going to be needing to speak on camera, virtually, or you could be doing it live as things are starting to open up. But what is your goal? Are you there to persuade, which is typically what we think of in a selling situation? Are you there to motivate? If you're a leader in your organization, part of what your job is to do is to motivate people to want to do their job in the best possible way. Or is it a combination of the two? And there's no right or wrong answer, but I want you to think about what your goal is. Here are some examples. You're out to obtain funding, you want to get a new client, you're looking to get approval for a project, you're trying to attract contributors or people to attend the virtual meetings of a nonprofit organization that you represent. So right now, write out your goal, and then I'm going to stop screen sharing. I'm going to unmute you and invite you to share your results. And I'm looking where I can unmute you. All of a sudden, I can't find it to unmute you. I apologize. Let's see. Unmute. Okay, I'm going to unmute Arlene. I see I can unmute you once at a time. So I'm going to ask you, what is the goal for your presentation?
I motivate people to write.
You motivate people to write. That's great. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call on Cheryl. Cheryl, what's the goal? Nice to see you. What's the goal for your presentation?
So actually, I have a series of presentations I've been doing with my Elevate chapter here in Cincinnati. And we have moved all of our events to virtual events. And then I have a couple of speaking engagements on panels with regard to the impact of COVID to the supply chain and businesses and reopening your businesses. So it's all informative and content based.
And with respect, Cheryl, your purpose for doing this is, which we'll talk about in a minute,
is to make sure that the audience is engaged. And so when you are in a room, when you are physically in a room, you know when your audience is keyed in or not. Learning those nonverbal communication skills and that to keep your audience engaged in a virtual platform takes a different skill set.
It's different skill set, and I'm still challenging each and every one of you has an underlying objective, and that is you either want to persuade people to do something or motivate them to do something. As experts, as business leaders, we are usually not just there to inform.
No.
At the end of the day, it's business. So ultimately, I'm going to mute you now. Thank you. We're going to, what you want is some kind of result at the end. All right, let's go to one other person. I see Don. Maybe you would share what your purpose is for your presentation, please.
Well, I mean, the purposes that I've used for the last month or so is mostly calling committee meetings together, group meetings together, and trying to find a common goal, a common cause, and a way forward.
Okay, so you're doing a combination, it sounds like, of persuasion and motivation.
I guess you could say that.
To get
well
people
said.
to do that. Okay, I'm going to go back to the screen. So in addition to your stated objective, we all have some kind of personal reason for wanting to be impressive, for wanting to make a good impact at a meeting. And so I'm going to encourage you to look at what is your hidden agenda. That is one only that you reveal to yourself. I'm not going to ask anybody to share it. So this is what I had said before. There are some people that want to drive the competition crazy, other people that really want to stand out in a meaningful way. Sometimes it's a goal for ourselves, like I want to get over this nervousness once and for all. So whatever it is, you want to have a hidden agenda. Now, there used to be a popular saying that to get to know an Indian, you had to walk a mile in his moccasins. But that became politically incorrect. And an adaptation of that was, if you want to get to know an indigenous person, you need to walk a mile in his or her shoes. Doesn't seem to have the same impact, does it? But here are some ideas about what your audience may want. Because what we're trying to do, again, is to give your audience what it wants so you can get what you want by the end of the presentation. So if any of these are applicable, you want to motivate your audience. You want them to buy something. You want them to sharpen a skill. You want them not to be bored. These are things that they may want? And how can you execute that? Which will be another question. Some people just want to kill time. In the coronavirus, they're just watching stuff just for the sake of watching. What is it that you think your people want? The next part is the heaviest part of this webinar, and I'm going to ask you a series of 8 questions that I want you to ask yourself before you go too deeply into putting together your message. In another life, I was a journalist. I went to the University of Florida. I was a newspaper reporter. And most of our training was on how to ask questions, the who, what, when, where, why, how, and how much questions. So I've adapted these a little bit to help you act like a detective. And sometimes you may or may not be able to get the answers to all of the questions, but the more you can, the more effective you're likely to be. So the first one is, who is it that you want to persuade or sell or motivate? The second one is, what are they concerned about as it relates to your topic, your product, your service? And how much do they know about it already? Because if you come in with knowledge that everybody else has, you're going to wind up looking like that picture that I opened up with. Now, this is a broad question. What would you say are the biggest challenges? That could be the biggest challenges you have in convincing someone, the biggest challenges that they're facing right now. This is an open question, but I'm asking you to think about what could get in the way of your being successful with your presentation. Then, are there any ongoing concerns or complaints that you might have heard related to what you're talking about? And how could what you're proposing, your product, your service, your program, help? And then the next question is really critical. What do I know, or what do I need to find out about my competition? Now, this can be internal if you're in an organization, right? You could have team members that are dead set against what you're offering or proposing, or it could be external where you really have other businesses, other professionals trying to sell to the same people you are. These are the last few questions. Who is really the decision maker? If you have a virtual room full of people, who is it you're really targeting? And what can you include specifically that's going to that is geared to them, that will make them come around to your objective? And are there other decision makers that could affect the outcome of what you're presenting? And what do you need to include for them? And if you've tried this before and it didn't work, look back and think about, why didn't it work? What did I miss? And what could I make better? Okay, I am preoccupied with not getting heavy again. And this coronavirus has not made it easy because we have so much more time to eat, right? So my presentation ostensibly would be about dieting for the sake of discussion. And if you eat too much ice cream or too much key lime pie, my favorite dessert, you're going to have consequences on the scale. So I want you to think about right now, what's your topic? What is your presentation focused on? And think about 2, maybe 3 main ideas that you could get across in your presentation. And you might want to write them down or just make a mental note. If you're on a computer and you want to open up a Word document, that would be fine. But I want you to be thinking about what are those main ideas that you're trying to get across. Because to connect to our mind, you've got to have something of substance for us to listen to, right? So now I'm going to share several formats. There are about 6. I'm just going to give you like 3 of them that you can use to organize your ideas quickly, whether it's for a virtual meeting like this, or it's an impromptu situation where all of a sudden somebody calls you up and asks you a series of questions, and you want to be able to quickly organize your answers. The basis of all persuasive presentations looks like this. First of all, you've got to get our attention. And last week, as you may recall, I shared with you 6 ways to open a presentation, and that video is available in case you would like to see it. And we can use those opening techniques to get attention in the body of your presentation, which is what we're talking about now. Then our job is to build interest. So I want to keep listening. And the key thing to remember is there's always going to be resistance. For example, Arlene teaches writing, and she may be talking to a group of prospective writing students. And what they may be thinking about is, I don't know if I can commit that much time to this kind of thing. Well, I mean, I have to go to class and then I have to do all this writing. Why would I really do that? And then the last step is to, how are you going to motivate people to action? And what is that action that you want? Here's another way that you can organize your content. Everyone in this room, whether you remember it or not, everyone in this virtual meeting room, that is, wore diapers at some time. This is the past, present, future technique. Today, most of us do not have to wear diapers. But in the future, some of us may need to wear protective garments again. Can you use this technique, which is often used in financial circles and medical health fields, to give us a framework of what happened to the past, what you see is going on now, and what you as the expert are predicting for the future to establish yourself as the authority? Here's another technique. This is called CAR, and it comes from the world of resumes. And what you're going to do is lay out the challenge that you're addressing for us, outline some of the activities that could be done, what the results were, and what your recommendations are as the expert. So I'm coming back to the food issue, and the challenge many of us face is trying to lose weight. So we engage in activities like exercise and class, and we try to drink a lot of water, and we meditate. And sometimes we have fabulous results and we feel good and we look great. So how do you do this? The recommendations are choose the right food, find exercise that you will consistently do, and practice meditation so you can keep your mind calm. That's an example of the CAR technique. Can you use this technique for your presentation? The last one I'm going to share with you today is called the triple T, and it's the basis of all presentation structures. The first T is tell me what you're going to tell me. The second T is tell me. And the third T is tell me what you told me. So here's an example. Today I'm going to share with you the 3 factors that help build a successful business. We'll look first at identifying if there's any interest in what you're selling, how to bring together the talent you need to run the company, and how to establish those important rules and procedures that can keep things running smoothly. And then I would go more deeply into each of these 3 areas about market need, staffing, and preparing for the worst case. And then I would summarize those 3 points. So what you need to have a successful business is a mission or a cause that people really want. You've got to find the right people and create a fabulous team. And you've got to be prepared for when things go wrong. How would this format work for you to organize your ideas? And what you're trying to reach is that yes. By putting the content together, by stirring our minds into the direction you want, you're going to wind up with that yes. Now, apparently last class, I forgot to answer the question that I raised about how long a goldfish would pay attention. And we did have a winner, Karina, who was the closest in her guessing to it. And the correct answer, I was comparing it to humans. Today, most of us will pay attention for 3 or 4 seconds. Goldfish, according to studies, will pay attention as long as 9 seconds if they're really interested, which essentially means that they'll pay attention longer than many of us will. All right, so now we're going to dig into our ears, a very important part of our anatomy, of your audience's anatomy. And it is in how you use your voice to connect to our ears that you convey confidence, which is really important, isn't it? Okay, so we are connecting using our mouth to connect to our ears. And one of the first things to remember is that when we're nervous and when we're uncomfortable on camera, we tend to get very quiet. Maybe if I'm really quiet, they'll go away. They won't even know I'm here. The idea is you want to raise the volume, especially in the beginning, and practice out loud and hear when your voice drops and when it's at a proper tone. So you want to make sure you're strong at the beginning and you're strong at the end, and that you keep your volume consistent throughout the presentation. Now, what also happens sometimes when we're nervous is we speak a million words a minute and we just go blah, 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 like this, and other people go and they drive you nuts. Either extreme is not what I recommend. You want to vary the pace. You want to be slow in some parts, a little faster in others, but you want to be really aware of the pace of your speaking. Now, this is one that I also have to remember to do, and that is we get serious and we stop smiling and we sound very authoritarian. I watched 10 videos recently that a local businessman had done, and only in 3 of them did he have any kind of smile at all. And he wasn't talking about deadly serious topics either. So it's easy to forget to put that smile in your voice. And if you need to put a happy face or a picture of your child next to you or your granddaughter next to you, something to keep you smiling while you're doing this, take whatever help you can get. Because that smile in your voice makes you more attractive and helps establish that important emotional connection to your audience. It's also important that you don't say everything with that same emphasis. What's really important, you want to emphasize by establishing a clear point with your voice. And this is something you want to practice, and you can reinforce it with gestures. You can reinforce it by putting your hands in the right position. But it's critical that you figure out what's really important and how are you going to emphasize that. Along those lines, it isn't essential that you fill every single second with your voice. Sometimes it helps to have what's called a pregnant pause. That is, you stop talking just a few seconds to let that fabulous idea sift in through our ears. And the last part of this is some of us have voices that go up here. Some of us have voices that go down here. And when we're nervous, we kind of lose control of those things. So you do want to practice the modulation to find a place where your voice sounds the richest, the fullest to you. And then you're going to sound more pleasant, more convincible, more confident to us. And the last part of this area of connecting to our ears is remembering to use the word you as much as you can. Right. People wind up saying I. You could mute yourself. I thought I'd unmuted everyone, but I muted everyone. But if you, thank you. If you use we or I too much, you're going to lose us. We're going to think it's all about you. And so the idea is to make sure that it is you oriented and not just about you, that is your audience oriented, and not just about I or we. Okay. Now we're going to talk about connecting to their hearts by using the right words. And I'm going to show you a series of words in a few minutes and ask you to select those that apply to your message, your topic. And I'm going to stop screen sharing and ask you to share them with us. Let me go forward. So the question is, why do people really listen? And at the same time, why do you listen? And we are listening because we think there's something in it for us, don't we? Which is the same reason the folks in your group are listening. So you want to emphasize the benefits that you're bringing with your offer, with your presentation, with your report, and also the problems that you may be solving. And there are words that are associated with each of those that I'm going to share with you now. Let's talk about benefits for a minute. And benefits fall into broad categories. Let me show you now some of the words, the benefit words, that you could incorporate into your presentation. Once you're pretty clear about the facts and the data that you're presenting, the steps that you're presenting, you want to be able to go wrap around them these benefit words, or what we'll be showing also are problem words. So I'm going to put these up on the screen now. Some of you are going to help me do less work. Some of you are going to save me money. Some of you are going to make my life more convenient. Some of you are going to make my life safer. Some of you will be adding to my health. Some of you will be adding to my bottom line in some significant way. These are called direct rewards. And there's another set coming up. I'm going to encourage you to choose some of these words that relate to your presentation, what you're trying to accomplish. And I'll be unmuting you in a few minutes to ask which benefit words you see and why, or which problem words you see and why. Okay, these are indirect rewards. By listening to you, I get more recognition? Will I get more respect from my team members? Will I become more popular? Will I be more appreciated? Will I be getting the approval that I need? What is it that your presentation could help me get in terms of an indirect reward? So I'm going to ask you to choose from these words or others that come into your own mind and let me know what indirect rewards, what direct rewards, what indirect rewards apply to your message that will help me connect. And here are some problem words. Are you disappointed with the way your investments are performing now? Are you concerned about what's going to happen to your business as people decide to come back to work or not come back to work? Are you anxious about your future or the future of your industry with what's happening? Are you angry about the fact that you have to wear a mask everywhere? Are you discouraged that you keep trying to lose weight and you can't? Which of these words will help you in your message to connect emotionally? Because these are what we call emotional trigger words. So I'm going to ask you to write out or think about 3 or 4 benefit words or problem words or concerns that your message is going to address. And then I'm going to stop sharing the screen, get you back on the gallery, and ask you if you would share some of the words that you see as meaningful to you and helping to convince your audience. And they can be benefit words or problem words or some combination. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share. So I'm going to ask Mercedes, would you share with us, Mercedes, what words you're doing?
I would say save time and money and something very important, and solve the problem. Okay, and then I need to get the recognition, and then the other thing would be anxious and worried. So I would have to use a combination of all those words in my presentation. One is the positive aspect of what would be presenting to this potential client. And then the other one says how I will solve your problem. Okay, which is this will take out your anxiety. We know that you are concerned about what's going on and you're worried, and our presentation will solve X, Y, and Z.
Good. Have you used those kinds of words throughout your presentation before?
I have used it, but from instinct, not from the organizational set of points that you're telling us to do. Thank you.
Okay, I just wondered, because all of you are professionals and you're not, most of you are over 25 a little bit. So I know you have used these things before, but I'm just encouraging you to incorporate them into what you're doing now. All right, let me see who else I can call on. Nancy?
Basically, help women business owners save money, save time, and by helping them do the right thing, the right time, in the right order.
Okay, so you're using a combination of benefit words. There weren't any pain words in there.
Right.
Any
Right.
problem-solving words. That doesn't mean there always has to be. You have a choice of using some or a combination. It's been my experience and recommendation that when those pain words are used strategically, they get us in the gut, which is what we're talking about here. The other is a little bit more cerebral. So I might suggest that you look for pain words that you know women entrepreneurs are going through, that you can help us understand that you empathize with us and you're getting it. That's just a suggestion that might make it even stronger. Okay.
That is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anyone else? Okay, I'm going to go back. Let's see if I can go back to Maxine. Okay, Maxine, I'm unmuting you. Would you like to share some of the benefit words or pain words that you might be using? Maxine?
I see these words as personal words because I'm dealing in my company where I have to make a presentation each week, which leaves me anxious and concerned. And then what I'm looking for is appreciation, prestige, and respect. So knowing that that's how I feel and what's going to happen, this makes it easier for me to know how to adjust my presentation and how to adjust how I feel. So they're good for me. This was very good for me.
Oh, Maxine, I'm glad to hear that. And it's really, we are the stars of the movie, if you will. And it is important that we really connect to ourselves. Also, I'm not neglecting that importance. So however you can use these words to help you move yourself towards where you need to go, that's important. But if we're talking about connecting to your audience, it's really critical that you think about how can you use these emotional trigger words with them to get them to really listen to you.
Right.
Okay, but thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see that Mari and Simone would like to share, so I've unmuted you. Mari and Simone, can you hear me?
Yes, Anne.
Hi there.
Hello. I took a few words from you here. So I have the direct rewards. We've been working with some organizations on webinars, and we work with small business owners in their marketing strategy. So I believe that I like this too. The direct reward would be to equip and elevate small businesses and brands. The indirect, I think that a lot of business owners right now are looking to improve their processes, their strategy in this time of uncertainty, and also a sense of belonging as well because of the isolation. So I think that would be the indirect. And then the problem, definitely uncertainty. And I feel like when I talk to many small business owners, they're worried about the future.
Absolutely. And so in your presentation and your material, if you can weave those kinds of words throughout it, you're going to have a much better chance of connecting to people to realize, yes, I need you. I need your services. You know, there's a balancing act we all play that we don't want to appear to be too salesy, you know, and we also want to appear to be genuine. But if we don't use any of these emotional words and it just stays very cerebral, it's not going to work either. So thank you, Marty, for sharing that. I'm going to see if anybody else. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the screen share. There are a couple of words, and we're going to be wrapping up soon, that I want to encourage you never to use. And the first one, because these words disempower you. Try to avoid saying, I think this is a good idea. When you say, I think, it means you're not really sure. I'm certain that I see this, I believe this. These are alternative ways of getting your idea across. Here's another one. If you imagine a finger and mom is pointing at you or dad, that's what happens when you use the word must. Only parents get to use the word must. Instead, it's required, it's policy, we strongly recommend. These are more powerful ways to share the idea of the urgency or the importance of something. And the last one may be a little controversial. It was bandied around in the last presidential election. You may remember hearing it. And hope is okay if it's a noun. But when it's a verb, when we say, I hope, it means we're not really sure that it's going to happen, and we're not in control of the situation. So I encourage you to substitute words like I expect, I anticipate, I'm confident that, and replace anywhere you might have hope in your vocabulary with those kinds of words. So there are other things you can do to connect. These are not necessarily to the heart, but they might be to the heart. And that is, you could ask people to tweet about your message. You can stop talking and invite their sharing like I've been doing. And you can present awards sometimes to audience members. These are other ways that you can establish a connection online. So I'm going to do a quick recap of the webinar, then I'm going to share some special offers with you and let you know what's coming up next week. So remember, we talked about how important it is first to connect to our audience's minds by asking and answering those detective questions, by trying to do a little bit of research about what they want so that you can get what you want. And you do that by organizing your content in a clear, clean, flowing kind of way, so it's easy to get into our brain. And then we talked about the ears a little bit. And when you use your voice strategically, when you make your comments you-oriented, you increase the odds of success that you're going to be listened to. And finally, we talked about reaching their hearts with the right emotional trigger words, the benefit words or the pain words. And some of you shared what you're doing with us, and I think that's great. And if you'd like to get in touch with me and share some more of them, I'll be glad to give you feedback. Speaking of which, the special offers this week include a complimentary 30-minute strategy session with me. And here's the link, and we'll be sending this link out afterwards, and you'll be able to book it online. I'll help you however I can with whatever you're working on. We're also going to be offering, starting in mid-June, virtual Speakout coaching groups with special rates, maximum of 4 to 6 participants, no competing businesses. And if you're interested, please get in touch with me and I will share the details. And finally, we're offering a 20% discount on our collection of ebooks and videos, which look something like this. There's a 4-pack, which has an ebook on openings, on organizing, on closing, and on dealing with the 4 personality types, and there are videos to go with them as well. So when you enter that code, you'll get a 20% discount. On our website, you can also order Public Speaking for the Genius on Amazon and any of our other programs.